found a lot of disparity on how they're used, but fortunately for Wise County Schools, I get to be in charge of some very talented folks, which I know all of you are in your position because you are as well. You know, I told you that feel-good story right to say when you're training a climate teacher, don't take time to do that. Okay? You know, it sounds good. Yeah, I was at a small school. I got to come up here, and, you know, it makes me excited for it. But, you know, when your teachers come to you for training, it's time for them to be trained, we have to keep in mind all the things that they've got going on. Not that everyone else doesn't have their own things going on. But, you know, with teachers, you know, we had this mindset, maybe planning periods was a great time to train teachers. We'll just set up, we'll schedule them for their planning periods. They can come to a specific room. We'll give them some dynamic training. They're just going to fly back into those classrooms and have time to sit down and, you know, put all this great stuff to use when the reality is there's IEP meetings. You know, it might be the only time that you get during the day to go use the restroom. So, you know, you take advantage of that to do that and get you a drink. But, you know, there's so many things that take place during those planning periods that aren't even really, you know, associated with planning. That, you know, sometimes it gets difficult to provide meaningful, you know, training during that time. So, you know, we ask ourselves, where does this professional development fit? And, you know, that's going to be different for you. It's different for every teacher, all the way up to, you know, the school buildings that you might be serving, the multiple school buildings that you might be serving, because you're not fortunate enough to stay in one building all day. So, you know, this is probably the most important question that we've asked. And we're going to move through this presentation and talk about some of the ways that we found that we can fit this professional development into the teachers' lives that makes it a little more meaningful and a little better for them to follow. So,
we've really kind of broken down this whole idea of how we can more effectively train our teachers into the same type of format. And if you really think about it, this is kind of what we really want to achieve with our trainings. When we reach other people, you want those trainings to follow a simplistic guideline. And so you really want it to be accessible. You want it to be beneficial to the people who are going to be in your training. And then also, probably the most important thing that you can have when it comes down to training teachers is having continuous training. Having something that continues on. So we're going to kind of break down each of these different steps in our how to train your time crunch teacher, the ABC model. Start out with being accessible. By accessible is that you want to try to offer multiple tracks, multiple options for learning and training. And you want to look at multiple methods for the delivery of that training. So what we will look at today when it comes down to some of the accessibility of your trainings is how can you reach the most people, a lot of times with the least resources that you have. Because in school divisions, a lot of times we are crunched, not just for time, but also for money, finances, resources, people, the human resources that we have. We're crunched for those. So being able to reach the greatest number of people that we possibly can effectively with those limited resources is a huge, crucial factor to really be in an accessible training. So one of the ways that we may want to look at doing an accessible training is starting out, the very first thing, when you start out your school year, if you're an ITRT, hold your teachers. Find out what it is that your teachers need to know, want to know, and already know. Because how many of you have ever sat through a training that you already knew everything that was going on?
Might do that today.
Yeah, you can do that right now. Polling your teachers, and I mean, you can create a quick, simple little Google form survey, something similar to this, looking at, okay, I'm going to be offering a few trainings at the beginning of the school year. I'd like to see who's going to attend on what day. Type your name in, type your grade level. What training topics would you like to see in this training? That really helps you to try to formulate an effective training that's accessible to the teachers in that building. Another method you might want to look at is providing different modes of training. So looking at group training, one-on-one training. You can do online training, whether it's asynchronous or synchronous training, where you offer something to everybody so that anyone can attend in the method or the mode that they want or can attend. One of the big words that we've always thrown out in education as teachers is differentiation. But we fail a lot of times to really differentiate professional development. We fail to differentiate how we're training the people that we want to differentiate instruction. And so utilizing those differentiation models of group training, one-on-one, station-based learning for teachers, online learning, whether it's through Google Classroom, Moodle, Edmodo, whatever learning management system or content management system that you want to use, using an online model and having it where it's both asynchronous and synchronous, totally asynchronous, totally synchronous, and then getting into, okay, what about flipped professional development? How many of y'all have YouTube channels? How many of y'all post regularly to your YouTube channels? And so, if you are in a training profession, your job is to provide professional development to teachers. It's a very good habit to get yourself into of recording your professional developments and providing them through your YouTube channel, through Loom, whatever hosting service that you want. Flipping that PD so that those who can't attend, I mean, I've got several teachers, and you probably do too, who don't even have a planning period. And so when you say, I'm going to offer this training during the planning period, maybe 3 or 4 teachers in that building, maybe 5 or 6, maybe 20 teachers in that building simply cannot attend because they don't even have a planning period. So flipping that PD really helps out for those teachers who can't attend those trainings that you're offering. Organize your materials, share them inside of Google Classroom or some other type of content management system. How many Google School Divisions do we have represented here? So if you're a Google School Division, you want your teachers using Google Classroom, right, for the students. You know what I found probably is the best way to get a teacher to start using Google Classroom? Enroll them as a student in your Google Classroom. When you enroll them as a student in your Google Classroom and you provide content for them to see, okay, this is how Google Classroom works and this is how the content will be delivered to my students, they're a lot more likely to go in and actually use it themselves in their classrooms. Provide your teachers with a schedule of upcoming events and trainings and stick to it. We started really trying to provide a schedule for our teachers every single year in Wise County of the things that they're going to be able to be trained on throughout the entire school year. And so we'll send out this Google Sheet, and it will have, okay, well, this ITRT will be at this school doing this training on this day, and then these other days he's going to be doing follow-ups at the school that he just did the training on, so he can catch those teachers and really work more in depth with those teachers. And we try to stick to that training schedule because if they're time crunch teachers, us just going whenever we want to train somebody doesn't work. So they have to know, okay, this is when this group training or this online training or this type of training is going to be provided to me, my school.
Some of the best is our unscheduled but scheduled training because we don't know when snow days are going to hit. But our teachers know that on snow days, we let them know snow days, 1 o'clock, you can find us training. You can attend the training with your coffee in your hand, with your PJs on that snow day, nestled snug, on your couch or wherever your favorite place is, and you can get this professional development. Now, that also means that you got to come in on snow day. Somebody's going to have to be providing it, whether it's from their home, or from their office at work or whatever. But if you put that out there, then you've got to deliver because on that snow day, you're going to have some folks, excited and looking for that link to come in for some training. And when you think, we probably have, let's say 500 teachers, but we normally have 30, 40, 50 teachers jump onto professional development on snow days. So even though it's scheduled, was that this?
The first year we get it about 150.
About 150 average the first year. So, you can meet them where they're at. Sometimes that might be the only time that teacher gets to exhale and take a break. But like I said, when they've got their cup of coffee and can do it from the comfort of their home, they might be more willing to participate on those days than any other days.
And then provide different levels of training. So you really think about like the teachers that you have in your building. And like Tom Whitby here said in his book, The Relevant Educator, he said you could have 10 English teachers in a department. every single one of them is going to be on a different level. So if you offer the same training, exact same training to all 10 of those English teachers, you're going to miss some of them. You're going to leave some of them out. You're not differentiating your instruction to your English teachers if you provide the same instruction to every single one of them.
And you know, we kind of stumbled upon this, not even necessarily for ourselves. We had a neighboring school division contact us because they said, hey, you know, we hear you guys are really good at that Google thing. We'd like for you to come train our teachers. And so we were talking to them about, you know, yeah, we'd love to be good neighbors, come help you out on your professional development days. And, I can split this up and get the guys, you know, but now they want to run 3 groups of high school teachers from 3 different high schools through. And, you know, we've only got so much time to get them trained. And so, you know, we needed ahead of time to create, you know, some guidelines for them on how to group their teachers together so that we could make that couple of hours we were going to have with each group as meaningful as we possibly could. Well, it fits with all of our training. You know, we just really hadn't sat down to think about that, because even if you provide that training during that planning period at a school that you work every day, you're still going to have, you know, depending on your subject matter, these users. Now, I've noticed, you know, a lot of these folks up here in this novice area, you know, they're probably more than likely to make time to attend a face-to-face because they're not really comfortable with that technology. They're kind of intimidated, you know, trying to even jump on to that, you know, online training. So they want that face-to-face time, and they'll make that a priority to get there. But, you know, getting your folks, you know, kind of categorized in here, you know, does allow, and it allowed us to run. I think they had a couple hundred teachers that day, and, you know, we ran them through the professional development, you know, that they wanted from us, you know, in a day, and hopefully it's been very beneficial, you know, to them. But we stumbled up on this, and this is good for, you know, you trainers that are out there in that building every day. You can kind of already put them into these categories all on your own. This isn't something that you have to go embarrass somebody for or anything else, because, you know, some of our trainings around these conversations has even went back to, we get caught up in all these new and emerging technologies and getting people trained. Some of our folks think that restarting their machine means pushing that little power button on their monitor. And, you know, I know some of you probably see it too, whether you want to admit it or not. They don't know the difference between a restart, you know, and a shutdown and all these things that, you know, so you've got a lot of novice users still out there. Sometimes we leave them behind, you know, because we're so excited about new and emerging technologies. So, you know, I would recommend going back and spending some time in here, and, you know, even if it's your own, you know, classification where your teachers belong, and then think about them when you're developing that training, and make sure that they know, you know, here's what, if you are not comfortable with this, then today's your day. You know, if you feel like this is wasting your time, you got better things to do, by all means, go take care of those things, and we'll catch you on the next one.
You know, just because somebody is a novice user or in that novice category for one training doesn't mean that they're going to be a novice in every training. I mean, you may need a little bit of file management, basic training here, but hey, you're ready for fluid learning in your classroom. You just need to learn how to kind of manage the content a little bit. So the novice user does not mean, I mean, you're locked into that set cast of, okay, you're always a novice user, you're always an intermediate user, you're always an advanced user. Allowing teachers to flow through that tier as well, it really helps out. And, you know, they're going to be moving through this, hopefully, to where your teachers, if they are a novice in this area, that the next training that they attend, they would be an emerging trainer, and then they would be in an advanced training, hopefully moving forward through your trainings. Which leads us into this idea of, you know, we need to really make training beneficial for people. We joked a little bit at the beginning, setting through a training that you already knew everything about. And you all ever set through a training that had absolutely nothing to do with what you were trying to accomplish? I mean, are there any gym coaches in here? Any PE teachers? Ways a PE teacher? I was going to ask if you have ever sat through a training for math instruction as a PE teacher and sitting thinking, why in the world did they make me try to take this? And we'll do that sometimes. We'll just group everybody. Okay, anybody who has planning, come down here. We're going to learn about Equatio, the new math add-on for Google Chrome. And you history teachers can get a lot out of Equatio because you can, well, you can do some math, and math has history to it. We can talk about all that. But really, in all truth, We really need to make training beneficial for people and make it beneficial for the people who are attending it. Relevant, make it timely and time conscious, and make it worthwhile for people. So ways that we can make training beneficial for people: train teachers on how to use the tools that are in their classrooms. If you're training a group of teachers on how to use a smart board, none of those teachers have a smart board. There is no point to do a training on smart board for those teachers. Teach them to use the tools that they have in their classroom. Train teachers shortly before or during a technology rollout. Have you ever been in a training on a technology piece that you got 3 years ago, or 2 years ago, or last year? You're like, man, this is really good. Could have used this back when we got it. Making that training timely so that when you're rolling out technology, you have training to benefit that technology. You're not waiting. And then also, I mean, you've all been trained like 6 months before a technology is going to roll out. And by that time, you've already forgotten what it was that you were trained on, and you have to be retrained again. Getting it close to that technology rollout. When we went Google, that's one of the things that we really started this whole idea of timely training with. We rolled out Google in what? How fast did we do it?
Well, just a quick little story on that. You know, we were going that direction, and we had this great plan in place. You know, like every other plan you have that's great, you feel real good about it. Then all of a sudden something happens, and it was our Exchange server, our mail server. And we were going to go Google. We had all these plans. We were going to migrate the mailboxes and had this beautiful timeline. Then, of course, I get the call from a tech that says, big trouble over here. You're not going to like this. Our Exchange server's crapping out. I don't know how much longer I can keep it going. And so I rallied those great ITRTs I talked about being happy to have. And I was like, guys, you're going to have to train like you've never trained before, because we're going to shake everybody's world and turn it upside down. And by the way, we've got to do that tomorrow. So, I'm getting a hold of the principals now, letting them know that we're going to have to make an emergency move. I know you've got other things, but today you've got to get here. And, so we made the mandatory trainings, and we migrated mailboxes. Thankfully, it was right around the Thanksgiving break. So we had we had a few days there to get the mailboxes migrated. And, when they come back, we were kind of pushed. So I also told them, I said, hey, if we're going, let's go. Now, one of the problems we ran into, which I was going to interject myself here and ask, it'd be wonderful. I could really take this Google Classroom thing and do a lot with it. But a lot of good Google Classroom is doing me if, these kids in my room don't have devices and they go home, and some of them have internet access, some of them don't, so it's got to be, great to go all in. It's great to roll out. It's great to get them trained. But at the end of the day, they've got to have those tools in their classroom to make that training, be beneficial to them, so that they can roll it out and make their classroom a better place.
Do a training, start on time, and if you can, end early. Like Scott said at the beginning of this training, this presentation, if you spend 5 minutes talking about your dog that you absolutely love, you talk about that. I would definitely outline. Definitely, when you make your video, if you're making an asynchronous video, make an outline. I mean, you're creating a video, make a script, not that you're like reading a script, but make a script, make an outline that you can follow. Because that kind of, I mean, staying on topic is a huge thing for really trying to cover everything that you have and not going over time.
That's a lot easier to do when you are doing a video, because you don't have the conversation. And, you know, we love face-to-face because we get to have this interaction. You know, we can get a question, we can interact with it. You know, a lot of times when you're recording that video, it may just be you and that camera in the room, you know, which can be very beneficial.
And if you can, offer incentives. If you can offer some type of incentive, and it could be a couple work days for attending all the trainings. Or you get with your director of technology, who's awesome, or principal, who's awesome, and they have lots and lots of money. You have those folks all kinds of money. Trying to give away, hey, you know, I'm going to training on Chromebooks. Would it be possible to get a Chromebook and maybe give it away to the person who, like, somebody attends these trainings and do a drawing for everybody?
The technology director says no, but you know, I would say for those that did raise their hand, if they're in that administrative type position, you know, go play nice and get to know your licensure folks really, really well, so that, you know, maybe they not bend the rules, because we got some DOE representation in the room. You know, we wouldn't want to break any rules or do anything, but maybe we can get those licensure folks, you know, to play nice with us and find ways to offer, you know, recertification points, those types of things to our trainings. Because if we have any Google level 2, any of that, great. And you know, we're in that technology world, so you were probably self-driven, motivated to go get that. Well, we wanted all of our teachers to do that very same thing, to come along with us, folks. And I said, hey, if we lay this out and we drag this out, because now you all that have been through it know it's not a big task. You can go do it the weekend. As a matter of fact, to have a conference shop, go ahead and take you down that road and get you certified. However, for that teacher, we can take those that you need to know, we can stretch it into 31 trainings, you know, and say, hey, we're going to get you Google Level 1 certified. We're going to be able to give you 30 recertifications for that. Tell you what, if you'll do it, we'll pay the $10 to let you test. We went from nobody's interested to have to lead 130 teachers through it. So 0 to 130 in one conversation. Now, I did the work with my licensure folks to get it to where we could do that, and I turned it over to my wonderful instructional technology coaches who, you know, built that out so that it, you know, so that we did that, and you know, that ended up being, you know, a great project for us. And Danny, you can speak to that real quick if you want to.
It was one of those kinds of things where we utilized what Google already had. We stopped those training modules. We added skills videos that we can throw in that would add up those hours that they should spend. So where Google already has this set number of hours that they should to go through these modules, and we told the teachers, okay, you've got to prove that you went through these modules. You give us a screenshot of the quiz that you took at the end. You prove to us that you can do that. That counts for that side of it. And then we've got our skills training videos that you're going to watch. The ITRT show you how to do this content that you're going to be tested on when you take that final exam. And teachers really responded well to that because, for one, it was recertification points. Recertification points. 3, it was on their own time. And so they could really just do it. We had a lot of teachers who like do it all on weekend, or they would do, they'd wait like the next snow day and they just do like 4 weeks worth of stuff. It's the whole snow day, 8 hours of training in one day, which I don't recommend anybody do because that definitely, I don't see how that could even, like, I don't know how you hit on that. But offering some type of incentive really does help, especially with the attendance that you have. Because you can't train somebody if they don't attend. You can't train somebody if they never show up. So getting them there is a lot of times after that.
We only had about 20 of those teachers even take the test.
Yeah.
They really didn't even care about, you know, to put on, you know, their email signature, anything like that. But whether they have the badge or not, having 130 teachers to go through, spending time with this content, this material, it's benefited us greatly. And the good news is then it opens it up to go level 2, and then keep those teachers engaged and involved. And one of the things about getting your teachers engaged and involved is one of our ITRT, which now is our newest hire. Teachers, and I know I don't have to tell you, technology coaches, anything. You offer great training and do all this. Why aren't they coming? Why aren't they participating? Because man, that is good stuff. But yet they'll walk down the hallway and talk to one of their counterparts that are working, but they're in the field. They're down there in the trenches with them. It's meaningful. We were kind of asking ourselves, why are they going to them for help? Not coming to us. Those types of things. So whether they come to us or not, if there's somebody out there. So if we've got all these 130 people now trained level 1, at least they've got access to it to get their appetite wet. And then we see them as they get a little more confident. Then they start attending, our trainings.
Final big thing we really want to say in regards to making your trainings more effective. Train them on front teaching. Probably the most important part, and that is to make your trainings continuous. Effective training is, it has to go past that on-board phase. We can't just expect one training to really effectively enhance and improve teachers' capabilities in the classroom. Technology integration. One training's not going to do it. We have to get past this idea of getting a certain number of teachers trained. We say that all the time. If I can just get these teachers trained, I want to get these teachers trained. What do we mean by that? We mean that we want them to attend training on that content, go back to their classroom and use the content. That's exactly what we mean. But that don't work. That does not work, because what happens is they attend that one time, they get the content, we move on, they don't use it. We don't teach school that way. First grade's not one day. I'm glad, because I've got a second grader that I could not have spent 179 days with. Not that you don't love. Yeah, not that I love. First grade's not one day. Second grade's not one day. Training should not just be one day, one time, one year. That's it. Solid training is not a numbers game. We don't look at it as a numbers game. It's looking at it as a effectiveness, as that content that you provide. It's not the amount, but the quality. It's the quantity, but the quality. Drive, and then I'll start looking at an introduction to Google Forms with you. And then the next training, I'll look at, okay, this is how I can create Google Forms quizzes with you. And then finally, we look at, okay, we can make some remediative tests and quizzes, and computer adaptive tests and quizzes that sort of model the computer adaptive SOL test that these kids are going to be taking using Google Forms. We work in a progressive building blocks strategy, rather than just saying, okay, this week we're going to train on Google Drive, next week we'll look at smart boards, next week we're going to look at this, next week we're going to look at that. Looking at a building block method of training your teachers and working with them. And you don't have to do like group trainings this way. You could say, okay, you're going to attend this Google Drive training with me. We're going to go over Google Drive, and then I'd like to meet with you one-on-one, and we're going to talk a little bit about Google Forms. And that could be the next training. So it doesn't have to be that every training in that building block is a group training, but making a progressive training with your teachers so that they learn in progress just as their students are learning in progress on that technology piece. And one great way to do this is create cohorts of trainees. And just like with our Google Certified Educator cohorts that we ran through, creating a cohort, a group training together. And they not contact me. They may contact Mr. Reynolds, who's in that training, taking the same training, and say, hey, you kind of helped me, did pretty good on that one. Can you help me make that happen in my classroom? Or you did this, I saw you doing that. I'd like to do that in my classroom. Students do that all the time, don't they? They ask their peers about, hey, you did great on that test. Can you kind of help me a little bit with that? I'm not talking about the actual cheating situations. But the whole idea of peer tutoring inside of a cohort works, especially for teachers who are taking professional development. And then whenever you train someone, follow up with more training and support. You can't just leave it there, mic drop, you're done. Okay, train, moving on. You're a number of that. We're looking at more than just numbers of teachers. We're looking at quality of training at this point. And whenever you do a training, this is a hard thing to do. Is to get honest feedback regarding your training. That's hard. Because none of us who are trainers like to hear, yeah, that really wasn't effective. Or yeah, that really wasn't great. But you know, during those times when you are told, you know, you probably should have done it this way, or you probably needed to have done it this way to really reach us, that pain that you feel allows for growth in your own professional development.
Having been a principal before, I can tell you that even if you're not the person that would ever say that to the person that's kind enough to train you, there's always somebody that was in that room that is that person. And, you know, that person usually showed up in the office and, you know, said, hey, you know, Mr. Kiser, that sucks. You know, we're not really interested in doing that. We don't want to. And, you know, so there's always that person who, you know, just get in their ear and they'll be brutally honest with somebody because it's feedback that's needed.
Everybody needs constructive criticism because that's how you build. And if you're going to be an effective trainer, you have to be criticized on your training. You have to be given feedback on your training. So throw out a Google form, throw out some type of like survey. Hey, how did this go? Well, how could this have improved? That's the hardest question you can ever ask someone because you don't ever really want to know, and what did I do wrong? But you really probably should want to know what you did wrong. Because you can't grow unless you know where you need to grow. And then the last thing that I will say when it comes down to making training continuous, because this is how you really get people to continue to go through training, celebrate success for those trainings. When they complete a training, when they use a tool, whatever, celebrate success they've done. I've started trying to, every time I catch one of my teachers doing something awesome that I'm training on, take a picture of it and throw it on my Instagram. You're going to be thrown between the things I love on my Instagram if I catch you doing something in my classroom. You're going to be between my dogs, my kids, deer hunting, all this kind of stuff. You're going to be thrown in the middle of it because I love my teachers. You got to show your teachers that they mean something to you, that you would celebrate the great things that they're doing.
It doesn't have to be mind-blowing. You know, some of the examples up here, you know, may not mean, you know, somebody may look at it and say, oh, I did that wrong. But for that teacher, you know, who is taking that step to do that, and they see that it means enough to you that you will celebrate that with them, then that's just going to, you know, kind of feed that animal and make them maybe want to take the next step. You know, so it's very important.
Really, just quickly going over, these are 6 teachers that I've worked with this year who have done, and I've got several teachers that have done amazing things. These 6 here, I caught doing something awesome. First group of teachers, they were doing a video call with a music teacher from a different school division. They just decided, hey, we want to video call the music teacher. We teach first grade. We'd like him to kind of talk a little bit about some of the stuff that he does. And it happened to be one of the ladies who was actually married to the music teacher. It kind of made it a little bit easier for that communication to occur. But still, that was an awesome event. The next teacher, first grade. Okay, first grade started using Google Classroom with her students, having her students logging in. I'm a K2, Can 2 kind of person. First grade started using Google Classroom, having her students log in Google Classroom from home, assigning things from home, providing content to the home. Parents logging in with the students, teaching the students how to log in, helping the students. Parent interaction, student interaction, teacher interaction, all happening in an online environment in first daggone grade.
Because hopefully all of your teachers aren't like ours and they don't come up with excuses on maybe why something can't happen. Oh, well, you know, kindergarten, first graders, you can't expect them to log into a Chromebook or anything else. But yeah, wait a minute. they have had an iPad in their hand since they're 6 months old, watching videos and all that. We can't. Sometimes we limit what our students can do. Just because we're kind of afraid to go there. And we know of examples out there where pre-K and kindergarten students are, they're all in Google Classroom and teachers are doing dynamic things with it. But when we see that step taken and we celebrate it, this is mind-blowing technology again, but this teacher has taken that step. This reassures her she took a great step. Well, then another teacher sees that on that post, and now they want to take that step. Because I've always said jealousy breeds success. Nobody wanted a projector until, wait a minute, she got a projector, and that's kind of neat. I want one. Oh, you got yours mounted? I want mine mounted too. Oh, wait, that smart board? Yeah. One of the things that I wanted to go on before we leave that, that continuous here and celebrate success is, Daniel mentioned his YouTube channel. YouTube channels are powerful because how many of us have even sit through a training like this, and then we go, oh man, what was that? 12 things have happened since I've even got to come back and revisit what we did there. Looking at, well, there's their remediation. They can go back and watch the video of the training. So when you are doing a training, we're being live streamed now. This is being recorded. It's going to be posted. You can go back to it. That can be powerful for the teachers. And there might be teachers that are intimidated and afraid to ask questions, just like you have students in your classroom. But if they can go back and do a little bit of their own research while going back and referencing a video of that training that you just did, they might have that aha moment, and then that take off too. So, I'm an advocate of those YouTube channels. I point people to our ITRT's YouTube channels all the time, just because, it's more than likely there. If we've got that technology and we're using it in Wise County schools, it's probably on one of those 4 YouTube channels. So, go find it.
Learn your teachers. Love your teachers. Just like your teachers learn and love their students. You are wanting to be an effective professional development specialist. You want to be an effective trainer. You have to be a student of your teachers. And I hope that makes sense. Because what I mean is you have to learn, okay, this is how this teacher learns. This is how this teacher is going to respond. This is how this teacher will react. This is how this teacher learns best. This is how this teacher will receive this content. This is what this teacher needs. Some teachers, I can give them a YouTube video, say, here, go shoot the moon, and they'll take it and they'll run with it. Another teacher may need me to hold her hand the entire time. But you know what? I want to do the exact same thing that they need for each of those teachers, regardless of who the teacher is, because every single teacher is going to be a little bit different than the next, and we can't assume that we can reach everybody the exact same way. Just like in your classrooms, you cannot assume that you can reach every single student the exact same way. You differentiate your instructional, your professional development, just like you differentiate your instruction. And so your teachers become your students, and you learn and you love your students.
Shameless plug.
Shameless plug. So, yeah. We mentioned we had trained a couple of school divisions. We ended up actually setting up a separate company for it.
It was great when it was the neighboring school division that wanted help, and we could go there and deliver that training and be back that day. Then when school divisions that were a few hours away started, saying, "Hey, we heard about you guys," and they seen us at a couple of conferences. We'd love for y'all to come do that training for us. So we decided that it was probably time to establish a little LLC and go out there and offer ourselves to do some training.
We definitely invite. We're not saying take us back necessarily. We'd love to take us back to school division, let them know about it. But definitely check us out on Facebook. Check out our website. Some things that we have to offer. We like to help out school divisions as much as we can because we're all in this together. We're fighting the same fight. We're all on the same team with this. So trying to help every single teacher, every single school division as best as we can, that's what we're here for. And if we're really looking at professional development, we're looking at professional development each other as well. So definitely check out And Tech Solutions LLC, Shane's plug, is over, and this is how you can get in contact with us. If you need to contact either one of us, Dr. Scott Kiser, Daniel Vanover, we would love to get in touch with you, hear about some of the things that you're doing. We would love feedback on this. So if you want to send us an email, let us know, hey, that was terrible. Probably don't ever need to do that again. Or, hey, thanks. This is what we really like about this. We really appreciate it. Whatever you want to say, or just want to say, hey, hi. That's fine too. So those are our email addresses. Again, that is our company's website. And we thank you all for attending. And guess what? We started promptly. We're ending early. Have a great day.